Okay, can everyone see? Yeah. Okay. Good evening, everybody. Konbanwa. My name is Dr. Joshua Wong, and this is a talk on elevating English proficiency, so bridging the pathway to student success. I am a head of program at the Singapore Institute of Management, Global Education. Yeah. So this is a little bit about myself. I was trained in media and communications. Yeah, you can just call me Dr. Joshua or Joshua Hakase. And I had a bachelor's degree and master's degree from the National University of Singapore and a PhD from RMIT University. And I've had 15 years of experience teaching in universities. Yeah. So today I wanted to just talk about some of the challenges faced by higher education students, that means university students, college students, in mastering the English language, and share some ways to improve the self-learning of English, as well as show some examples of English in assessments, in exams, in assignments at university or higher levels. Yeah, and I hope this will be useful to you in trying to understand, okay, what level of English should I be aiming for? Yeah. So to start off with, I thought I would talk a little bit or have a discussion with you about the challenges of learning English, especially as Japanese students. So maybe let's get some feedback first. What problems do you face? I want to hear from you. What problems do you face when trying to improve your English? Or what fears or worries about English do you have? Maybe you can share in the Zoom chat. Now, and I can have a look at it. Or perhaps maybe Adrina, if you could help me read out any questions that were shared, that would be useful.
Sure.
Mhm.
So far, we haven't have any questions yet.
Okay. I will wait for about 1 minute. If there are no questions, you can move on. But if you have a question, or problem you want to share, but you perhaps cannot express in English, you can try sharing in Japanese as well, and then we will try to answer. Listening, yeah, speaking fast, and pronunciation, and linking. Okay, yes. Academic writing. Speaking fluently and how natural English sounds. Don't know how to write properly and academic vocabulary. Yeah, okay. Thank you all for speaking. Co-locations, yes. That can be hard. Vocabulary. All right. Thank you very much for sharing. And yes, this is very similar to what we see in a lot of students who are learning English as a second language, right? You don't know the right words to say, so you struggle with the vocabulary. The person you are speaking to may be too fast, or the lecturer may be too fast, and you cannot keep up with the English that is being spoken, right? Right now, for example, I am speaking at a slower pace than I normally would speak if I was giving a lecture. So if I was speaking at my usual speed, this is how I normally speak. It is very, very fast. But I speak at a slower rate now to help people understand what I am saying. Yeah. So yes, so we're going to talk a little bit about these problems, and then I'll share some tips for how to perhaps improve your ability to handle these kinds of problems. Yeah. So what we found in our own experience when teaching students is that there are certain common challenges. Yeah. The first is, of course, academic writing. And I think that was also shared. Things like, how do I structure an essay? How do I write formally? How do I use proper citation and referencing? Right? Some of you may know what that is already. Some of you who have not yet entered university may not understand that yet, but you will be taught that once you enter university. Things like lecturers and classroom participation. So you have to understand complex lectures about business, about science, about literature, perhaps in another language, and then participate in class discussions in English in real time. So that can be difficult. Things like reading comprehension. Not only do you have to read news articles, but now you have to read academic articles, journals, research papers in English. That can be challenging, yeah, once you go into university. Then if you go to another country, they have different ways of expressing themselves that is not taught in common English. Right? So you need to understand the idioms and the phrases that they use, which is different from everyone else around the world, right? So all the weird phrases like "have a go at it" or "I'll see you in the arvo" in Australia, for example, or a weird Australian language like "tall poppy." What does that mean? It's not just tall flower. There's a specific meaning behind that, right? So all the different vocabulary and slang that you have to learn if you go to study in a different country. And of course, then assessments and grading is also different. So many students, especially from Asian countries, they come to with the expectation that they will just take notes of what the lecturer is going to say. The lecturer will speak for 2 hours. The students just take notes, and then they memorize the notes and answer the written exam. But that is not how a lot of university classes are conducted in English-speaking countries. So it is not just about taking notes and answering on paper. There's also class discussions, presentations, a lot of speaking involved. And that can be quite a big part of your grade. So that is one of the cultural differences that causes students to have trouble when going to a foreign university. Yeah. So I thought I would start by sharing some of the tips for learning English that can be useful for yourself when you want to improve your own English, right? And some of these can be very basic, but some of them are also more advanced. So the first one actually has to do with changing your mindset, right? And you have to recognize that English is an art, not a science, right? What do I mean by this? Yeah. In science, there is often one right answer. In art, there is no right answer, or there are many right answers. Yeah. So English is not a subject where you learn by studying the rules of how it works. Unlike mathematics, unlike science, you study the rule, you follow the formula, you get the right answer. Yeah. But English here really is a tool, like a paintbrush, like a pen to communicate an idea. Right? So that's why it's like an art, which means there are many ways to express an idea, but traditional teaching and textbooks tend to focus on only one right answer for exams. So perhaps in your secondary school days or your high school days, you learned English as a formula to follow with rules, and then you have to give the right answer for exams, right? But at higher education, that is not the case. There are many ways to express your ideas, and so English is more about a communication tool to express your idea. So you need to change from focusing on getting the right answer or to avoid the wrong answer. Instead, focus on how to communicate the idea. Yeah, just like how you need to express yourself in painting. There is no right answer for how you paint. Yeah, so it's about how you express yourself. So success in English, therefore, becomes, can a person understand me? Not what is the right word, not what is the right sentence, but can the person understand me? Yeah, and that is how you need to start thinking of English in that way. Okay, English becomes, okay, to successfully communicate in English, I need to see whether the person understands me, not whether I have used the right word. Yeah. So I'm going to do a little exercise now just to help you understand this mindset. So we're going to try and come up with many different ways to express an idea. So for example, the idea is she is very beautiful. Okay. Now there are many ways you can express this idea. You can say she is very pretty. I just change beautiful with pretty. I replace with a different word. Okay. I can also say her beauty is amazing. This time I change the whole sentence around. Yeah. So now I talk about her beauty and it is very amazing. But it's still the same idea that she is very beautiful. A third one is she is drop dead gorgeous. So this is when I use an idiom, a saying, a phrase that means the same thing, that she is very beautiful, right? So you can see, and you can mix and match all of these different techniques as well to express this idea, right? She is, her prettiness is amazing, outstanding. She is gorgeous to the point that I drop dead. You can mix and match many different right ways to express this idea. Okay. Why don't we give you a try now? How do you express this sentence in a different way that still says the same thing? My goal is to travel to many countries. Maybe you can type in the chat a different way of expressing this idea. I want to travel to many countries. Yes, that's good. Traveling to many countries is my desire. Yes, exactly. You can use whatever language, whatever words, I have a goal to travel around the world. Yes. Yeah, it doesn't have to be countries. Traveling around the world also has the same idea. You go to different countries, right? I would like to travel many countries, and that's my goal. Visiting many countries is my goal. Yes. Yeah. I have a dream to visit many countries. Great. Thank you very much. I am keen to travel around the world. Yeah. Here's another one. Our project is delayed because the problem is very difficult. How would you express that in a different way? The problem prevents us from completing our project. Yes. Yeah, so that's a restructure of the sentence. All right. Great. Oops, sorry. The difficult problem don't let us finish our plan. Yeah. Very good. Very good. The problem is so difficult that our project is behind schedules. We have difficulty to move on our project. The difficult issue caused delay on our project. Yes. Great. This is wonderful. Good job. Okay. Now, English is about expressing ideas, right? So now I am not going to give you words. Please describe this picture to me. Yeah. Boat is going against a big wave. Yeah. You can see Mount Fuji behind big waves. Yeah. Mhm. Well, thank you for all those who have taken part so far. You can see a big wave, 3 boats on a mountain. The ship seems overturning. The big wind at Edo. Yes. So you can see that there are many different ways to interpret this picture, right? And they are all right. They are all different ways to express your particular point of view or your particular idea, right? So this is what English is for. It's a tool to express your ideas or to communicate your message. It is not just a subject where you study for exams, right? It's more about how to express your thoughts. So we need to start thinking of English really as this tool to communicate. Okay. Is there someone talking? Okay. The second one is about English. Why we need to watch English. Honestly, I strongly encourage everyone to watch English language shows, either online or on TV, and especially watch English news channels. Okay, so you can watch on YouTube, Netflix, Paramount, Hulu, or BBC World News, CNN.
Yes, you're not alone, but you need to be more careful.
Is there someone speaking?
I think there's someone, Akane.
No, yes.
Yes, you're on. I think you have to mute yourself because we can hear you.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah. Well, she's watching shows, so that's good. And I just watch English language shows. Okay. There are 3 reasons why this is important, right? One, you hear how words are pronounced and used in sentences. Very often, people, they will learn words by themselves or they will learn sentences by themselves, but they don't learn a whole essay or a whole paragraph or a whole conversation, right? So by watching English shows, you learn which words should be used in which situations. You also learn how to pronounce the words and how the words are used in sentences. Second reason is you become used to the speed of spoken English, right? Right now, I am speaking still a bit slowly, but as you watch, especially American or English TV shows, they speak quite fast. Yeah. And that is important because once you get used to the speed of English and can catch up, then that makes sure that you are ready to listen to a lecturer talk when they speak at full speed. Yeah. Otherwise, what can happen is that if you just study English exercises and they all pronounce the conversation or the practice exercise at a slower speed, like the one I am using now, it is good for learning, but you will be used to this level, this speed. And so when your lecturer starts speaking fast, you cannot catch up, right? So it's also important to listen to English spoken at normal or slightly fast speed so that you get used to the speed. And thirdly, you get exposed to new words and build vocabulary, right? So entertainment shows like your comedies, your variety shows are good for everyday English, and news shows and documentaries are good for business and academic English. Okay, so it's also more fun to learn English through watching shows than through textbooks or classes, right? So a few things why English speaking is important, right? English speaking and listening is important. So in classroom at university level, you are expected to answer the lecturer's questions in class. You are expected to do group projects and discuss in English with your group members how to do the project, and do presentations for your assignments where you will have to present your results to your lecturer or to the class. That's why these all form parts of your grade for your subject. So your ability to communicate in English for these activities becomes very important, right? It is not just written or reading. It is now also being able to talk to your classmates, being able to listen to the lecturer in class and answer as soon as he has a question, as well as being able to formally present in class of your assignments. Okay, so some useful links. Please do have a look at some news channels. There are a few ones that are free online. So Channel News Asia is our Singaporean news channel, which is quite popular in all of Asia. They have a website as well as a YouTube channel. NHK World Japan also can be useful. So that is Japan's channel for the international market, but they speak in English. So you can also watch that to get some local news, but in English to help you practice English, listening in English. Okay. The third tip I have is to build a vocabulary with online resources. So I should point out that there are different kinds of English words used for different situations. Yeah. So just like how Japanese has futsutai and whatever, and heinego and sonkeigo for different levels of polite and formal speech. So English also has conversational English, business English, and academic English for communicating in different situations. So conversational English is used for normal everyday life, but business English is used for communications at work in corporate or business settings, and academic English is used for writing and research in university. Yeah. So if you plan to go into higher education to study at university, you will need to learn academic English, but also after you graduate and go out to work, you will also need to learn business English. So it is best to learn a bit of everything now. Usually, for most schools, they will teach conversational English. If you learn on language learning app like Duolingo or something like that, they will also teach you conversational English, which is good for everyday life. But business English and academic English are more formal settings, more formal kinds of writing and words used. So they will be a bit different from conversational English. And so you need to learn the words used there and how to write in those settings. Yeah. So here are some resources you can use for learning conversational English. So BBC has a very nice website for learning basic English, right? You can also go to the British Council. They can again have different exercises at different levels to practice English skills. Let me see if I can show you a few of these examples. So this is the British Council, for example, learning English, where you can do exercises to improve your vocabulary for air travel, for example. They can have grammar, they got vocabulary, they have skills of listening, reading, writing, and speaking. And here you just have to drag the box, I think, right? So here's an example of this. Oops. Okay, never mind. There's also BBC Learning English, where you can watch videos and learn about right? And there's transcripts, there's written work, as well as videos for you to practice. Okay. There are also YouTube channels you can watch. Let me see if I can find one. This is called Everyday English or Practice English Conversations. Yeah, for the YouTube channel English Easy Practice, and they have plenty of videos.
Sorry, Joshua, there's no audio.
Oh, there's no audio? Okay, let me see if I can figure out what's causing the... Okay, never mind then. I can go without audio, but that's just some examples of videos, right? There's also business English. So business English, again, for office purposes. So BBC has a section on business English as well to teach you for office and work environments. There's also a YouTube playlist for business English words. Yeah. So I will show you that. You don't have to listen to it, but I can show you what it's like. So this is office English, and there's essentially okay, so they have transcripts for you to see. There is also this thing called the Business English ESL vocabulary. So this one is a long playlist of more than, I think, 100 videos, yeah, where they talk about different vocabulary for different kinds of business. So finance, financial English, legal English, business English used in manufacturing and production, business English used in marketing, in HR, human resource management, yeah? Business English when talking about stocks and shares, when talking about internet marketing, sales, economics, right? So this can be useful, even AI, there's business English vocabulary. Yeah. So this can be useful for teaching you the different vocabulary used in different businesses and what those technical terms in business are used for and what they mean. Okay. The third one, of course, is academic English. Now, for academic English, I am going to focus mainly on vocabulary because that is the basics. There is, when doing academic English, you have to learn academic vocabulary. You have to learn academic writing, meaning that there are different ways of structuring sentences to make them sound more formal, right? Also, there are specific ways to compose essays in a more structured way, like having a topic sentence at the start of every paragraph to explain what this paragraph is going to be about. But all of that is something that you can learn as you take English courses or writing courses in university. In terms of the words used, one of the important ones is called the New Academic Word List. Okay, so this, some scientists did research and they looked up in all the academic and research articles, what are the most common words used in academic writing? And these, they listed them all down in terms of the number of words used, right? So this can actually be useful to you if you want to specifically learn more vocabulary for academic purposes. You can see this entire list of words. Yeah, repertoire, obtain, distribution, parameter, aspect, dynamic, impact, for example. And you click on them, you can actually see the definition of each word. Or there's also a YouTube playlist called the Academic Word List that will explain all these words one by one. Yeah. So that there have been YouTubers who have compiled entire lists, exercise videos on each of these academic words. They will give you, this one is particularly good because she gives you the word, the example, and as well as some exercises for you to practice. So this, for example, gives you analysis, research, impact, participation, sufficient. So she teaches you 10 words at a time. Okay, and how to do it, how to write it in. So that can be good for learning vocabulary and how to use it. So that's the academic word list over here. Okay, so that can be good in learning how to write appropriately for academic English. Yeah, especially when you want to write for your essays or for your reports. Okay. Another useful resource is called News in Levels. So this one is quite interesting. This one is a website that writes news articles at 3 different levels of English for you to read. Yeah, so for example, they wrote about a planned attack at Lady Gaga's concert. Okay, at level 1, it just says Brazilian police stop a bomb attack at Lady Gaga's concert. The concert is free. It happens on Copacabana Beach. More than 2 million people come to the concert. So that's simple English. The more level 3 English is Brazilian police stopped a planned bomb attack at Lady Gaga's concert on Copacabana Beach in Rio de Janeiro. The concert took place on Saturday and was free to attend. More than 2 million people gathered to see the singer perform. Right? So a little bit more advanced English. And so that can be useful for you to see what level of English you're comfortable with and progressively read more and more difficult English. Yeah, about the same article, just see the difference in levels of English. Yeah. So newsinlevels.com. Okay. The next section, I want to talk a little bit about assessments. But first, any questions or anything that people want to clarify before I move on?
Yes.
Yes?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Thank you. How can I use the list of new academic word list
Mm-hmm.
to
How can, yeah.
yeah, how can I use?
Okay, yeah. So how can you use the new academic word list, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you get this link, right, what I normally recommend people to do is to, well, just
Yeah.
memorize 10 words a day, right?
Just to memorize.
Memorize and learn and use in a sentence, right? The value of this list is that it helps you remember which words are important in academic writing, right? Because this is not every word. This is only the words that are very common in academic writing. So if you learn these words, they will be the most valuable words to use when writing for academic purposes. Yeah. Yeah. If you don't want to learn just by reading text, then you watch the videos instead. Yeah. So this can be another way to learn the same words, just different order. Right? Yeah.
Thank you.
So practice, yes.
Practice, yes.
Okay.
We have another
Question.
question from Hannah.
Yeah. Is it better to practice business English for presentations and discussions at classroom? It depends on what you are studying. If you are going to study business, then yes, business English is just as good as academic English. If you're not studying business, let's say you are studying engineering or science, then usually we recommend you write in academic English first. Yeah. business English is mainly going to be useful if you study in business, like economics or management, business management, something like that. Then your lecturers will be very happy to see you use business English. But by default, you can use academic English for anything you do in university, business English for when you go out to work, or if you are studying business in a university, then you can also use business English. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, if there are no other questions on this, I am going to talk about assessments now. I'm just going to share a few things. So one is called Bloom's taxonomy. Some of you might know about this, many people may not. And this talks about how this scientist named Bloom came up with 6 categories of questions or activities that teachers ask students to do. Okay. And so at the lowest level is remember. You have to remember something. So you recall facts and basic concepts. Right. And usually if an exam question comes up with asking you to remember something, it would include things like define, duplicate, list, memorize, repeat, or state as part of the question. The next level up is understand. You need to explain your ideas or concepts. So that could be things like describe, discuss, explain, identify, select, or translate. So the question will phrase itself in such a way that you have to explain and understand it. The next level is apply. So that is when you have to use information in a new situation. So you have to remember what you learned in class and then apply it into this new situation given to you by the lecturer, right? So usually they give you a scenario or a case study, and you need to solve something or solve a problem or use what you have learned in this new case study or this new scenario. Analyze is when you have to draw connections among ideas. So you have 3 or 4 different ideas. You need to organize them. You need to compare and contrast between 2 different points of view, let's say, whether abortion is good or bad, or whether people should be, what are the benefits or disadvantages of the tariffs organized by Donald Trump, for example. Yeah. Then the higher level is evaluate, where you have to justify a stand or a decision. So you have to argue and see whether this argument or this essay that someone else wrote is really worth it, or state your own opinion and then give reasons for why your own opinion is solid and should be believed. And of course, lastly, create. You have to produce some new or original work that has never been done before. Yeah, invent a new machine or create a new piece of artwork. Right? So here are some examples of questions that are used in our university for exam purposes or for test purposes, right? And this is just to give you some examples of assessment questions. So in this case, Lee, David, and Elaine use brainstorming techniques to foster creativity of ideas among team members. So A, describe the process of brainstorming used in group decision making. So this is an example of remember, where in the past, the lecturer would have taught the students, okay, what is the process of brainstorming use and in group decision making. So then students had to just remember and write out the entire process. Okay. Question B, using the communications process model, explain why the use of brainstorming can sometimes lead to barriers in communication and suggest how to overcome these barriers. So this is an example of an evaluate question, where you have to explain why. Yeah, not how, but why does this cause this problem? Yeah, barriers in communication, and suggest how to solve that problem. Yeah, so that's an example of analyze the problem and solve the problem. So evaluate. And lastly, describe 3 advantages of group decision making. This is basically just remember and state out the answer. Okay. Here's another example. So this is Jane felt that her boss, Sarah, was constantly micromanaging her work. This led to a breakdown in communication between the two and resulted in Jane feeling demotivated and frustrated. Suggest how Jane can resolve the conflict using one conflict resolution technique under the Thomas Kilmann model. Okay, so in this case, you have to remember what the conflict resolution techniques are and then understand each one well enough that you know which one can be useful in this situation. Yeah, so you have to explain how to resolve the conflict using this particular technique. Okay. So here are some examples of apply questions. Usually for apply questions, the assessment will actually give you a scenario, right? So imagine you are a manager in a multinational company. You have a team composed of members from different cultural backgrounds, including countries with high context cultures and countries with low context cultures. 1, discuss 2 challenges you might encounter while managing such a diverse team. And 2, discuss 2 opportunities you might encounter while managing such a diverse team, right? So you were taught about high context cultures and low context cultures. And now you need to think about, okay, in this scenario, as you are a manager in a multinational company with teams from different cultural backgrounds, what are some challenges you might face? And then what are some opportunities you might face? Okay, so that's when you apply your old knowledge you have learned into a new scenario in order to be able to answer the question. Yeah. So I guess this just shows you some of the assessment questions that you will be asked to do for, basic undergraduate degrees, for example, in universities. Yeah, or even some of these are even used in our diplomas. Yeah. So I think that comes to the end of my talk. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much, useful presentation, Joshua.
You're welcome.
ご質問などございましたら、チャットですとか、音声オンにしていただいて、ご質問いただいても大丈夫です。
Can I talk again?
Sure, Akane.
Thank you. If I want to hear fast English, how to practice?
Yes.
How to,
I suggest you watch news, especially English news. That becomes, yeah.
Repeat and repeat. You mean?
Yes. So usually, sometimes on YouTube you can change the speed of playback, right? So try at normal speed first. Let's say you go to a YouTube channel. Let me share my screen. So let's say you go to Channel News Asia, for example, right? And you play.
Yes.
But if it's too fast for you, you can
Yeah.
change to a slower playback, right? And practice this way. Make sure you understand all the words she's saying. Yeah. And then slowly become faster and faster until you get back to normal speed. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? Anyone else? Okay, Junko asks, when I try to participate in discussions, it takes a while to speak up and sometimes the topic changes. How can I train myself? Okay. So this is more about well, it depends on what is causing you to slow down, right? If the issue is you are unfamiliar with the topic or with the topic of discussion until the lecturer teaches you, usually I recommend this to students, but a lot of students don't listen to me. Read the topic before before you come to class, so that you can predict what discussion is going to happen. Then you have thought about it already, so that when the discussion does happen in class, you are able to answer or give your opinion quite quickly. Yeah. Okay. All right. ECSJ says, when watching a movie, it is sometimes difficult to hear the meaning at all due to omission of consonants. I would like to know if there's a way to deal with this. Okay, so this is sometimes due to contractions. So like, for example, when people change from cannot to can't, right? So that will change it's hard to understand if you suddenly change the omission of consonants. Or if, let's say, there are different accents being used. People speaking in a Scottish accent or a British accent or an Australian accent, it can be hard as well to understand or to hear the movie or meaning, right? So in that case, if there is a subtitle option for the video, I would recommend turning that on. English subtitles, not Japanese subtitles, so you can see what the English word is supposed to be, and then you can compare it to what you're actually hearing and see if there is a difference. Nowadays, YouTube also allows for automatic translation or automatic subtitles of videos, so you can try and see whether you can understand it that way. Okay, Bunta Okugaki says, how do you deal with discussion when you don't come up with any idea? Yeah, okay, sometimes people just cannot think of an idea. It's okay. Just say that I cannot think of an idea right now. But if you can prepare before class by reading ahead, then that will help you sometimes to have more time to think of ideas before the class discussion. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, I guess we are done. Thank you, everyone.